Hello, everybody. Welcome to Digits is webinar. You are here today to learn about offsite media here at Digits, which is a great topic. And we've got a couple of special guests I'll introduce in a few slides to kind of talk about and discuss a little bit more about the role of offsite in RMN. First, we will get started. If you're new to Digits, a couple of slides just teaching you about who we are, what we do. So we are a leading independent retail media agency. Retail media is all that we do. We do lots of types of it, but we only do retail media. So we're super deep experts in this space. Founded in 2016. We just hit our 10-year anniversary. If you follow us on LinkedIn or some of our newsletters, you might have seen some things there. But 10 years ago, a couple of weeks ago, I started the company. And actually, we are going to the Twins game tomorrow to celebrate. So you'll see a LinkedIn photo of a bunch of us going to the Twins game to enjoy a 10-year anniversary for Digits. But um, that is a bit about us, our background. If you like what you see today and you didn't already subscribe to our newsletter, use this QR code. You'll see it on a couple of the slides, or you can go to this URL on our website to sign up. We run a target-facing newsletter, and we have a couple other unique activations within alcohol media and regional grocers. So Digits, our footprint, we operate a flagship around Target, and I think probably half the people on the call are affiliated with Target in some way, shape, or form. So that'll be a lot of our examples. But we are national in reach in how we come to market. So our tier two, or I guess tier one non-Target would be Walmart and Instacart. We run a lot of media at both of those ecosystems. Tier two then would be pretty much anything else that has a live RMN. So that could be your Kroger, your Albertsons, your Hy-Vee, H-E-V, that space. And then we also operate as RMN agency of record for a growing network of regional grocers and C-store. So specifically calling them out here, we've kind of got a bit of a Midwestern footprint, but Schnucks, Fairway, Coburn's, we operate as their RMN. We also just signed on a deal with Snag. They're a delivery company, sort of a GoPuff of college campuses. So if you are interested in running media directed at colleges, Snag is a great solution. They're rewind the clock, but 10 years ago, GoPuff is how I'd rank Snag right now. So Digits is the exclusive provider, especially for alcohol. So if you're an alcohol brand, we can really help you get plugged in there and drive your business within college campuses. And then we have another retailer we just signed, hope to add here for the next webinar. So a growing record of regional grocers. Our flywheel of support and kind of how we view the world of retail media. So everywhere from paid search to promotions and coupons to offsite to Roundel managed service or Walmart Connect managed service, whatever retailer you might have. But that's what we're here to talk about today. So we're here today, focus in on offsite, somewhat the third spoke of retail media. And we're here to demystify that and bring a lot of clarity to clients. So with that, I'm going to open it up to bring in our special guests for the day. So we have two special guests. There's one, Mr. Ben. So Ben is with us here from Trade Desk. Ben, can you give us a quick intro? And with that, I always like a silly icebreaker question. So give me your favorite or most recent grocery store that you shop at to help people get to know you a little bit better.
Sounds great. Well, my name is Ben Severino, and I'm a senior account executive at the Trade Desk. And I know that we're going to be talking a little bit more about what the Trade Desk does, but I'll start by just saying very simply, we are a demand side platform or a DSP. And what we enable advertisers and agencies to do is they go onto our platform and they're able to activate digital marketing campaigns across premium environments. To answer your question, David, or Dave, my grocery store that I shop at most often is Target. And I like Target the most because I have a sweet tooth and I think that they have the best cakes and cookie cakes. And so anytime I get to enjoy those, I really appreciate it.
And what market are you in? Where do you live?
I live in Chicago.
Got it. So Chicago Target. So doing it well. I like
Yes.
it. Dylan, you. Now, I know a lot of our audience will have met you before. Dylan obviously works for Digits, but give us the intro, your role, and your favorite or most recent grocery store if you don't want to pick favorites.
That sounds good. Thank you, boss man. Dylan here. So I spent the first decade of my career at Target in the merchandising path and last couple of years on loyalty and a little bit of retail media. And then I've been working at Digits for 8 years, so not the full 10, but pretty close, leading up our retail media team as well as our retail media network agency of record teams. And sadly, I am kind of boring, and Target is also my most recent. So we have two young kiddos, 5 and 7, and have literally zero time to go actual grocery shopping. So we do a drive up order pretty much every day, maybe twice a day, because we have a Target within like half a mile of our house. So Target is the option for us.
Well, then there are people that know a lot about Target. I have to throw my hat in because I do a lot of Target deliveries and shipped essentially deliveries with Target. But Fresh Time, I love Fresh Time. So if anybody here on the call is a Fresh Time person or their brother or sister works at Fresh Time, you can give them a plug because they are my favorite to go to when it's not just a Target order. But all right, so Ben, give us the one double click into Trade Desk, sort of beyond that. So some people in the call will be super familiar with Trade Desk, others won't. So give us again a little bit of, why are you here? What's Trade Desk's authority in the space? What does Trade Desk do?
Yeah. So I'll talk about like with Digits, we partner for Digits to be able to go onto our platform and activate campaigns on behalf of their clients. And when I say campaigns, reaching audiences across connected TV, display, online video, audio, digital out of home. What we enable advertisers to do is reach consumers across the journey throughout their day, making sure that we reach the right audiences during times where we can motivate them to purchase and do it across like the entire open internet. And we have really precise audiences with the data integrations that we have. So whether brands are using their first party data, retailer data, or the 250 different audience partners that we have, we enable those campaigns to have the audiences behind them to motivate purchases, and then we can close the loop to be able to understand what the impact of those campaigns were, depending on whether it was at the retailer or where that point of purchase was at.
Awesome. Yeah, Trade Desk sits in the middle between everybody, right? Between the audiences, the retailers, the agency, and sort of everybody works with Trade Desk in some way, shape, or form is what I see from being in the RMN industry, is aims to be sort of a neutral arbiter, and they're the ones sending ads different spaces and helping that plumbing all get figured out and measurement and whatnot. And it's probably not as advanced of an answer, but that's the way it feels like for
No, I
me.
think that's great. And like because of our objectivity, I mean, we don't have any owned and operated inventory. We've been able to create these partnerships with these different retailers, and being that really premier DSP for retail media beyond the different verticals that we support as well too.
Got it. Well, so to bring this to life today, we're going to play a little game that I jokingly called Ask a Media Guy. Because the way I'd say this and to frame this up is most of our client, like Digits' core clients that work with us often are salespeople. So CPG sales leader, maybe a shopper marketing person. But a lot of these people, I'd say, were born and raised in the industry from the retail side of retail media, not always the media side of retail media. And so um, there's a lot of nerdy stuff with media and with retail media, but people like me, former merchant, kind of come at it from the, well, how does this actually work angle, I would say, of it. And so that's what I want to do today. We're going to walk through primarily sort of Digits is some of our key slides and what does offsite mean. And then I'm going to frame up a question for you guys as we go through. As, all right, what does this actually mean? Help demystify this. Give us a little bit of a nerdy answer in the space. So that's the way we're going to roll this up. With that, folks on the call, attendees, find the Q&A function. So that is how we're managing it today. So if you might have to click on the more button, but if you click on the more, then there'll be Q&A. You can pop in a question either with your name or with a anonymous, if you want to keep it anonymous, depending on what you're asking. But we will try to aim to answer those live or as we go through. So this is your time to ask questions about Offsite that you didn't know. and to kind of bring it to life. So with that, we are going to get started on sort of our offsite RMN. So what I want to start with is how do we even define what offsite is? Because I'd say I called it the third rail of retail media a bit before, but that is the way I think a lot of salespeople think of it is paid search. Everybody kind of gets, obviously Amazon started that business. It's very easy to visualize. It's all pay-per-click. Next would be on-site display. Most partners are working either through a managed service to get that at Target through Roundel, or Walmart Connect and Instacart and others have that on-site as well, either managed service or self-serve. What we're defining here as offsite is pretty much everything else. So, this example of a butter cookie cone ad is a programmatic display where we're buying that out there on the open internet, but it's also paid social you could think of as offsite because it's not on a retailer operated, connected TV, online video, digital out of home. That is all sort of what's defined as offsite in this space. So our first question goes to Dylan. So what I hear a lot is if I'm talking to a partner around offsite, they're like, that's what my brand team does. My brand team does offsite. They're responsible for that. Why do I need to care? Like, why is this related to retail media? So I'll open the floor. What's the media guy's answer to that?
The media guy. I love it. Yeah, I mean, I would say it's great that your team is doing offsite, that your brand team is doing it. We see that as much more of a tops-down approach of driving brand awareness across the nation, really driving like your overall brand priorities, not focus on a specific retail channel. What we are focused on and what we think every brand needs to be doing would be RMN offsite. So retail media focus offsite, much more bottoms up approach. So if you think about Target, you might have a new item launch at Target that you don't have everywhere else. Seasonal priorities, company space placement, different ways that you need to boost your sales at Target. And while your brand team is doing your national offsite media, you're doing your on-site search, boosting your, every week go to evergreen business. RMN offsite media is going to help you boost your sales during those key campaign drive times. And so what we're able to do is really get geo-targeted, hyper-focused on Target stores or Walmart stores in a certain area, focus on first-party retailer data to know, truly customers that are within that retail segment or even the broader third-party audience approach that we'll get to here in a few slides as well. But what we see it as is it's a good balance of both. Let your brand team do your national offsite tops down, and then focus more on bottoms up approach.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I predicted your answer, Dylan. So we pulled together a couple of examples of sort of how this has come to life for Digits. So, the new item example, seasonal, co-space, promo, whichever, like these are all creative and audience approaches that would not hit your brand builder's radar. Like media strategy to build a brand is very different than media strategy to get somebody to walk through a register 2 days later. So like that's, I guess, probably the one way that we would frame it up backwards is the same ad showing up on a phone doesn't mean it's part of the same strategy. The very tops down, bottoms up within that space. And Ben, I know I have you questions later, but feel free to pop in if you have second media guy on these as well. I hope we can go back and forth between you guys
Ben
as
is
well.
first media guy. I'll be second media guy.
Yeah. Okay. So next is, if I'm a sales guy, it's been beaten into my head that what these retailers are good at and what they bring power into is the scale of their audience. So Walmart Connect talks about having 300 million shoppers. Roundel talks about having 165 million shoppers. And they're like, it's closed loop reporting. We are where the shoppers are. So I think the question is, so we've been told about first party. Does that extend offsite? And so Ben, can you explain a bit about how that works? But
Yeah. Short answer, yes. And it does depend on the retailer. Some of them share more information than others. Some of them only allow non-endemic brands to activate. So it really does depend on the retailer. But the benefit of being able to activate with Digits and through the trade desk is being able to understand who received an ad, like whether they just got an impression or they clicked and engaged, and ultimately what led them to make a purchase at the specific retailer. So if I am someone that shops at Target. I saw a CTV ad and a display ad, and ultimately I converted at a Target location. Making sure that you understand the full impact of that campaign and understanding what drove me to make that purchase. We are able to get like sales attribution from the retailer, and we know based off of our technology what channel was exposed to them. That provides that closed loop measurement, knowing, okay, I was exposed to the ad and I ultimately made that purchase.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna interrupt because we have two questions that I'm gonna answer live. So two anonymous attendees have answered questions. So one, is RMN Offsite the same we're talking about as Bullseye Marketplace? And the answer is at Target, yes, they call the Offsite Bullseye Marketplace. Now, you can buy that either through a managed service campaign through Roundel. If you're spending 500 grand plus a year, they'll build it into your campaigns, or you can buy that self-serve. So Roundel makes it available via Trade Desk, other partners, and an agency like Digits can go buy you those campaigns. Our minimum is 40 grand in the space to run a campaign, not 500, if you will, for a year. So yes, Bullseye Marketplace, but brought in a different way. So the other next question was, if you're a brand can only afford one, either tops or bottom, like one a bottom up, tops down, which one would they do first? Do either of you have an answer to that that you would want to give? But
Yeah, I mean, I can hop in first. I would say if you're a brand that only has budget for one or the other, I'm going to go under the assumption that you're a relatively new and smaller brand. And then what my focus would be is if you have a core retailer that you are launching at. I don't know what just happened. If you have
that was me. I stopped sharing so we could focus on your great answer, Dylan.
Oh,
So
great. If you have a core retailer that you are like focused on launching at, and that is where the majority of your sales are going to happen, then I would focus on bottoms up. If you are a brand that's launching in the US and you're D2C, you're trying to launch in some stores at Target, Whole Foods, Walmart, then I'd focus on your tops down brand awareness, like get as many eyeballs as possible would really be where I'd be at.
I think that's an excellent answer. I think it just depends on what your goals are, like Dylan had talked about. And if you're trying to reach like a new audience and really increase brand awareness, offsite would probably be the best option for you. But if you're really trying to drive that lower level conversion and at a specific retailer, then onsite would probably be the best option for you.
all right, we're going to get back into it. But thank you for the questions. If any of you are sitting out there thinking of them, please put them in. It helps drive our content and make sure that we're driving value for you guys. So next question, and it sort of was hinted at earlier, but there's this first party, retailers have their audiences and data, but then I know Digits sometimes will say third party. So Dylan, I'm putting you on this one. Explain the difference between the two. And let me back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. There you go. All right, Dylan, explain the difference.
Yeah, so I'll take one step back too. I think to answer on Ben's point of even like the on-site aspect for that last question, where before we are even getting to off-site, what we would recommend when you're launching at a retailer like Target would be focus your initial budgets for on-site spend. You can get to that budget pretty quickly on like the right optimization for your brand, but that would be your initial go-to. And then as we talk about moving to offsite media, we have first-party retailer data and third-party data. And so the two different aspects of this are really, it's pretty straightforward. First-party retailer data, again, using a Target as an example. Roundel has data segments of all of the customers from a loyalty platform, from credit card data, all of that map back to customer data so that we can, as an agency, buy on behalf of your brand any level of category level data, brand buyer, lapsed brand buyer, competitive buyers within the category, and go out and target them off of Target's platform within static display, mobile media, desktop, CTV, video, all of that we've talked about. This is really about audience targeting, currently what we're talking about. So first party would be Target, Walmart, Kroger using their customer data, and you're within their, circle and sphere of all of their customers. Third party data, the great part about this is you're going to get much more breadth and scale, where if you're trying to target somebody for, Walmart sales growth, but you don't want to be stuck just within Walmart customers because, maybe they buy wine or maybe they buy pet food at more of a specialty retailer than they do at Walmart. That'd be a great way for you to use third-party data to say, we want to go out and target wine shoppers that are within 7.5 miles of a Walmart store within these 7 states, and then go out and serve that media. So you're driving much more incrementality. I would say the benefits of the two would be first-party retailer data. You are getting closed loop sales data for the most part, as Ben was speaking to. You're getting true Walmart targets customer profiles that you were targeting. And third-party data, you're probably getting a little bit cheaper costs, depending on the retailer. You're getting much more scale and probably a little bit more incrementality as well.
Yeah, I know. So earlier I said I like Fresh Time. And why do I like it? Because of their produce, right? And so I don't buy a lot of vegetables from Target. So Target probably doesn't think, Roundel doesn't think that I like vegetables or fruit, right? And so if you're pulling first party audiences for Target fruit buyers, Dave Glaza is not in it, right? Or at least not the frequent purchaser bucket, right? And so if you're trying to find those people, you can find a lot of them for first party, but you're not going to find them all. And I think if you're only ever using first party data, you're limiting yourself, you're limiting your scale, and it's essentially a smaller and smaller type ecosystem, unless you're doing really good things with your managed service partners to expand on that and get really creative to pull in more. But if you're just kind of going generic, you limit yourself within the space. All right, we're going to go. Okay, I've got my really fancy graphic here. So most business is still done in store. 75% of dollars are flowing through shopping carts. And, Target actually is rolling out new shopping carts. We just heard that's the latest big buzz. 25% is happening on your phone. And I think everybody gets so crazy about the 25% happening on your phone because that's the number that's gone from 0 to 2 to 5 to 10. And every month it literally goes up. But most business is still happening in a store. And so those people don't always see paid search ads. Those people don't, they're not looking at target.com. They might even have the app on their phone. And so how do you find those 75% of people is a lot of what this question is today. So the question to you, Ben, then is, well, what percent of my budget should be allocated to offsite? Is it as simple as, well, 75% of my business is in store, so I need to try to find those people? Or like, what are you seeing work in that space?
Yeah, it depends on what the goal of the brand is. And if you're motivated or focused on a specific retailer like Walmart or Target, and ultimately, what is the highest priority? Is it to find new customers? Is it to defend the existing ones? Is it to competitive conquest? You had mentioned, 75% of CPG sales happen in store. And so Dylan mentioned that he's someone that shops online at Target. So he's going to be impacted by an on-site search ad. But I'm someone that likes to shop in store. And so if you're only doing on-site activations, you're not going to be getting, I'm sure a percentage of that 75% does online shopping and in-store shopping, but maybe like majority of them do not. And so if you want to be able to reach audiences outside of the target.com or the walmart.com, you need to be able to activate offsite media and do it through a demand side platform like the Trade Desk or with an agency like Digits. So there's not going to be 75 needs to go here, 25% needs to go here, because we know the value that each of them do bring. I think it's focusing on what's most important, what your goals are, and how that's going to get you to accomplish those with either on-site or off-site.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know, when Digits is onboarding new brands, often our recommendation is to get started with paid search just because it's sort of the easiest. It's easiest, it's quickest to convert, it's lowest in the funnel. But then whenever we start to feel like that's maxed out or getting figured out, then we definitely start going other places. Usually then offsite or whatnot to sort of expand on that. And so that breaking point, I think it's different by brand. And so it's hard to give somebody a percentage, but I think that model makes a lot of sense. But okay, next question. So these people, right, we're trying to find the Bens of the world that maybe aren't doing digital all that much, right? Or he's not going into a Target or a Walmart app enough for us to hit him with all the ads we want to hit him with, right? Is a different way to think of it. So where can we find them? Well, it's pretty easy. People spend 5 hours a day on their phone. Well, maybe it's not easy to find them, but there's a lot of time people spend on their phone, myself included. So that's the easiest way to get at them, right? Is to somehow take a piece of those 5 hours. With the trade desk specifically, their stat is you can find 62% of somebody's digital time using the partners that Trade Desk has access to. The way that as we were thinking through this, right, what's not part of the trade desk, just as people think through that, it's not the retailer app today. You can't buy ads on Target.com or Walmart.com through the trade desk. You can't buy social. That's kind of a walled garden of its own. You can't buy Amazon media. That's a chunk. And then you can't buy like YouTube ads like Google. So like there's other examples, but that's largely the 38-ish% of their time. Ben can keep me honest, but we can get most people that way. So then I'm going to frame it up to you, Ben, with the question of we often get, especially from smaller challenger brands, is like, oh, my team already does Instagram. That's what they do. That's what they love. Like, why do I care about the open internet? And so I know that that's your guys' space. So why should we care about non-meta, non-social activities?
Yeah, I'll start by saying like we acknowledge and know that like social media has a place in advertising. And I'm someone that spends time on Facebook and I spend time on Instagram and I purchase from those different exposures to ads on on social media. And when you think about like how a consumer or how you spend your day, like I'm someone that wakes up in the morning and I check social, but I'm listening to podcasts, I watch Hulu, and I like read news articles at night. And so there's so many different ways that advertisers are able to reach me. And we have a research and insights team at the trade desk that looks into like where certain demographics or interests audiences spend their time on social media and on the open internet and how that is divided up by each different segment. And looking at specifically like the primary grocery shopper, only about 13% of time is spent on social media and the rest is outside, whether that is on CTV, online press, gaming, linear or radio. And so if you're just doing Instagram, think about you're only reaching that 13% of online time spent for that primary grocery shopper. And you're really limiting not only the audience you're reaching, but how many times you're able to reach them, the different channels you're able to reach them. Stats show the impact that purchase has on a consumer when they're able to be exposed to different channels, really hammering that messaging of why they should purchase your product and ultimately getting them to convert at the retailer or online.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
To like our conversation today is like knowing that there's a purchase path that I'm going to take and making sure that we are as a brand prevalent in all those different areas and we're allocating budget appropriately across where I'm spending time is going to be crucial to the success of those campaigns.
Yeah, I think Instagram is great, Meta, whatever, and especially for a lot of emerging brands. The way I'd put it, like the Bain list, the brands that go to Expo West, like they get so good at Instagram. That's like their organic function of how they get as a marketing company. And so I think a lot of times when those brands are ready to go to retail, they think they can just lean on Instagram because it's worked for them at Whole Foods or wherever that how they've built their brand. But trying to drive thousands of cases out of 2,000 Target stores or 2,000 Walmart stores, they need a bigger reach, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they think through that. They're like, oh, we'll just run Instagram. Everybody sees Instagram. Well, to your point, it's only 13% of somebody's day. It's not 62% of somebody's day. All right, next up. So what I want to do is share the funnel that Digits has. And so these are all the media products that we offer. We've kind of touched on them all, but a funnel that goes at the top, more of a CTV, out of home, billboards. That's what we would call our Digits Deluxe. We do offer Meta. I know we just said you don't only want to do Meta, but Digits runs that for you. Ultimately, we're talking about hitting people in multiple spots. And so we run a Meta channel. And then we have what we call our MKT or Digits Market around Target stores. And we have our Digits in store. Both of those are open internet. more trade desk provided, DSP solutions, kind of those bottom two. And so the way that we actually bring this to life, so we get to the point, we've talked to a brand, they're like, yep, we've got $100,000. We want to go try to drive this program. This is how we bring it to life with them, in the different decisions that need to be made along the way. So first we'll define our targeting. We'll talk about, what stores do they want to be in? Are they carried in every Target or Walmart, or is it just a certain section, or do they want to concentrate on a certain state? Everything's built very bottoms up. We also then figure out audiences of who they are, where they live, whatnot in the space. Then we'll build our creative, and we'll serve the media. We have 4 different creative sizes. We lean heavily into mobile for a lot of the reasons we talked about today. That ad then will drive to a PLP. We build these all by retailer. So a Target one will drive right to Target. A Walmart will drive right to Walmart. We try to reduce as much friction as possible in that space. They can purchase online or in store, and then we fold it up with reporting. So everything gets reporting there as well. So through the rest of our time together today, we're going to hit on a couple of these things in the space. And so, media guy question is: I highlighted there that we're geo-targeting our media. So Dylan, why? Why should we geo-target our media?
Yeah, I would say to look at first party media, sometimes you do not need to necessarily geo-target your media. So if I were using Walmart's first party data and wanted to go after my brand and lapse brand buyers, I probably actually don't need a geo-target unless if I have like a certain state or market strategy, just given that I already know that those are purchasers of my brand in the stores and the areas that that person lives. So in theory, I wouldn't need to layer that. Now, when we look at the other side of it, where we were talking about third-party media, where it's not truly like one-to-one, this person is for sure a Target shopper, but we know that they are a wine buyer, and they live in a certain area. Now, to your point, Dave, I might be a wine brand that's in 1,200 or 1,400 Target stores, and I want to drive sales in my 1,200 stores, not in all 1,400 Target, or not in. I don't want to send media to the entire U.S. when I can only run media in 36 out of 50 different states, and so our focus for brands is really making sure to make that third party audience media work as close as possible to first party, where you're getting the same, buying and behavioral audience targeting tactics. But then we layer on a 7.5 mile, 5 mile, or 250-meter radius around a lat and long of each of those specific target stores that you want to drive sales at. So then we know that this is a person that this is a big reason on why we like using mobile media a lot too, is because it's current where they're at. I know that they're within 5 miles of that Target. They're a wine shopper. They probably don't shop wine at Target. They shop at Total Wine down the road, and they're influenced right now to go buy it on a Friday down the road at that Target. So that's why we would heavily lean on geo-targeting your ads. The less that you're doing geo-targeting with third-party media, I would say you're leaning more towards your brand level national brand awareness, which is still good, but not the focus of here of trying to drive immediate sales in certain spots.
Yeah, the other stat that I'm going to add in is I think it's both Target and Walmart, but something like 95% of their business is sold within, was it 10 miles, of each individual store, right? Like essentially take out Google Maps, draw a circle. That's where all the business is. So why wouldn't you only want to talk to those people? If that's where you're actually physically carried in the space. But Benner, do you guys see geo-targeted across a lot of retail partners that you guys work with from a brand side?
Yeah. Yep. I think building off of it, you can be so much more precise. And the closer you are to that retail location, the most likely you are to shop there. And so if you are too far out with how you are targeting consumers, those might be wasted impressions because you want to be able to reach those who are going to convert and they're not too far away from your retail location.
And
Yeah, I think when we talk to brands, like we are trying to serve media against people that are likely going to shop in store in the next, 1 to 2 weeks. And so if they're not physically near that store, they're less likely to be literally walking through that store, right? And so it seems obvious when you boil it down that way. But
yeah, and I think to hit on that too, Ben kind of maybe think of a point that I didn't mention, but we're not just running offsite. Like this is on a phone, so you think that this would only drive e-commerce sales because we're going to the PLP or an add to cart. But the majority of sales that we're actually driving are in-store sales. You're still influencing people that are going to do their Target shopping trip unlike myself, but more like your Ben, that's like on weather bug, searching the hourly weather, and you get popped up. And I even had a call today with a brand that was very frank. They're like, the programmatic static media and OTT, just like, I don't believe in it, which I would say as the media guy, I actually didn't really believe in it at first either, like to be totally frank. But I think the more geo-targeted with the right audience at the right time is like, it's another reminder. And if I get hit with that ad 3 or 4 times over the next week of, the kid's snack item that I haven't gotten, and I just keep getting influenced, and then I'm on Target app and boom, like I'll add it, even if it's not directly from the media, it's something that I think is a great influence.
Yeah, I think the other talking points that resonate usually is it's the modern equivalent of the circular. It's like whatever you used to put in the circular for promotions, for new items. Like when I was a merchant, that was my half my job, I swear, was planning out the circular, right? Because that's what my brains cared about. That's where their money was. That's what drove sales pops. But circular doesn't really exist anymore. It's largely matriculated to retail media. And so how are you getting that out there to tell people about your products before they walk down the aisle? Because if you're not doing that and they're only going to find your product in the bottom shelf of a new run, like good luck. Like it's probably not going to sell at the sales rates that you need it to. So, okay, moving forward. Oh, setup question before I get there. Dylan, is the geo-targeting historical or can we do any sort of live geo-targeting?
Yeah, I think I kind of answer that. But we can do both. So we can look at people who have been inside of a store in the last X number of days. But a lot, like honestly, most of the media that we do is live media of their
Yeah.
within.
Hence the setup, because I needed to walk through this slide. So Digits, we offer a product called Digits in Store. So specifically, plant a dot on a Google map in the middle of a Target, a Walmart, whatnot. And then we can target, our baseline is 250 meters around that concentric center. So think of this as a digital end cap. So we want to show full screen, majority screen ads to people that are walking around physically on their phones at that exact moment. So, maybe you didn't win the end cap because some other brand came in and offered money for it, but you want to talk to as many people physically walking around that store at that exact moment. So hopefully they see your product on the phone and then they'll just walk right past the end cap. And so next time you're in a Target, Walmart, look around how many people are on their phone, checking weather, playing a game, building a list, whatever they might be doing. Is our job is to find those people and zip them ads right at that exact moment. Question came up, and I think I'm going to hold, it was around ROI. I'm going to hold this one because we have some slides on KPIs coming up in a little bit. And so I'll ask that one when we get there because I think it's perfect. Okay. Retailer list. So we've been talking a lot about Target because, again, Target's Digits flagship. About half of what we do as an agency is in one way, shape, or form talking to Target. But we're running media nationally. So the Trade Desk retailer list, you can see this graphic here. Most national retailers in America will work with the Trade Desk in some way, shape, or form. I'm sure not everyone if you went through the list, but most. There's a lot of huge, big logos on this list. What is super exciting for an agency like Digits is most of these are now offering self-serve programs. So you don't just have to go through their managed service, Roundel or Walmart Connect. So Walmart, Target, Kroger, Albertsons, obviously many more. You can take the keys as a brand, decide your targeting, decide your dates, decide your budget, and go run it and do it yourself versus writing media briefs and hoping that, the actual RMN does it the way you want to. So with that setup, I guess, Ben, as a DSP, from your position, why would you tell a brand they should be doing managed service or self? Like what's that decision factor?
Most like retail media networks are moving towards like a self-service model because it gives the agency and the brand more control over their campaigns. And with the different retailers, some of them don't even offer a managed service. Some of them only offer managed service. There's a lot of nuances, but they are moving towards more of a self-service model. And it really provides that ownership for the brand and the agency. They're able to do optimizations. They're able to do different types of attribution, and they really have that control to be inside of the platform day to day, making those adjustments and getting the most out of those campaigns.
So a lot of Walmart has moved self-serve, correct?
Correct.
Yep. And Walmart, disclaimer, is exclusive with Trade Desk, I believe, from an offsite, correct?
We are,
Can't probably say legally there. I can stop you, but
yeah, you're
mostly,
good. Like trying to figure out.
mostly through Trade Desk from an activation side. But yeah, Walmart is ahead of Target, I would say, from a self-service migration, both on-site and off-site. To be frank, and I'd say Target will probably follow Walmart's footprints over time. I'm not saying direct to Trade Desk, but as far as shifting budgets from a managed to a self-service line, is we would expect Walmart and Target to follow that way over the next couple of years, which puts brands at the center.
Yeah. Having Walmart be able to focus on their like on-site activations while partnering with agencies like through the trade desk so that they can do the self-service portion is where they're focusing their business, and moving forward, that's going to be their model.
Cool. Okay. KPIs. And so this is our digits, sort of like three buckets of KPIs. I overlaid a couple of notes, but you know, in this world, we get media KPIs. You should get sales KPIs because this is retail media, not just awareness media, and then insights within it as well. So now we've already pulled apart a little bit of first party, third party. And so the added notes here is, third party, because it's not closed loop, can't get pure ROAS. But we do usually get an IROAS, incrementality of it, because we can do incremental sales lift analyses. But Dylan, and Ben, I'm going to read the question that was asked, and you guys can sort of answer that on this one as well. So question is, how do I prove to leadership that offsite is driving ROI or sales velocity if 75% is happening in store? So like, how are you connecting those dots, I guess, between in-store sales versus digital activation?
Yeah. Ben, I'll go first on kind of how I see it. And then I know you guys with Trade Desk have so many third party partners and everything like that as well. So with first party, how you'd be able to prove to leadership would be the majority of your offsite campaigns, first party retailers that we talked about will give you closed loop sales, which will give you your total attributed sales and give you a ROAS number. So while it's not ROI, it'll tell you truly how many people saw this ad and then purchased the product. And that is purchased it both in store or online. So you get your overall return on ad spend of in store plus online purchasers. And depending on the retailer, most of them give you that by channel. So you're able to see, how many people actually went in the store that saw my digital ad and purchased that product. If you are spending enough with these first party programs, you can typically get an incremental sales lift report from those retailers. So depending on who it is, talk to your agency or talk directly with the retailer itself, and then they can give you what those minimums are to get that ink sales reporting. From a third party perspective, as Dave spoke to, with Target, we are very familiar. So normally with our brands, we have direct access to their Target POL, or they just pull a report in the way that we show them. And we will do a control holdout with the geo-targeting of our media stores, plus a control holdout, do a year over year, pre versus in media, control versus not, and give you what your estimated incremental sales and IROAS are.
Yeah, and that spits out a sales lift dollars, right? Like
Yeah.
$50,000 campaign netted X in incremental revenue, right? Like that's how specific it gets.
Yeah, ours we'll do it by channel, incremental lift, incremental dollars, IROAS, and then if we need to layer it down to a specific strategy as well, we can normally do one layer below that too.
Ben, anything to add on that? Connecting digital activation to in-store sales velocity?
Yeah, like by activating through the trade desk, we have identifiers for consumers, understanding the media that was placed in front of them, and then we get sales from the retailer, and we are able to connect the two to say, okay, they received an ad and they purchase a product. The identifier can be in store when they put their loyalty information in, or that can be online, and we're able to connect those online and offline conversions, ultimately giving that return on ad spend or the ROI for that marketing campaign.
And Dylan, hold me honest here, but for our average campaign, what percentage of incremental sales typically is in store versus online?
For our third-party campaigns, we normally see a higher ink sales lift, like percent lift for online. I would say 85% of our incremental sales are in store. It varies depending on the category, given that we go anywhere from like pets and household and baby to, your very frequent grocery versus alcohol categories, but 85% probably in store.
Yeah, definitely more than half, right? It's like it gets spread out on a bigger base, and so sometimes it's harder to see it. Um, but yeah, it's a significant amount of the dollars that do that. Versus, I would tell you, as agency leader, I see the paid search reports. Paid search, great for online sales, not necessarily impacting your in-store business. If it does, I mean, it's small, right? And they do calculate that most places as well too. So the offsite is the one that tries to hit both in the space.
And then Ben, there's also within Trade Desk that we've absolutely loved is the third-party partners that do foot traffic lift
Mhm.
analysis, other, third-party ink sales analysis beyond just like pulling directly within Walmart or Target's POS platform, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that we can measure success, whether that's like a brand lift study with Lucid or it's a foot traffic study. We have so many different measurement partners that we're integrated with. And so, beyond just looking at sales at the retailer level, we can understand the impact with all those different partners that we're integrated with.
Cool. Okay, Dylan, there's another question that popped up that I'll have you answer. Recommended spend minimums or flighting that are possible for iROAS or best, iROAS type results.
Yeah, great question. Our minimum to pull ink sales lift would be $25,000 media spend. Anything below that, we used to, estimate it at campaigns below it, but we found that we get much more accurate and significant results at 25K plus. And then generally from a flighting perspective, our shortest campaign will be 4 weeks, but we push more for like 6 to 12 week campaigns depending on the campaign spend.
You know, at Digits, we are an agency of the people, right? So we have relatively low minimums. So we're trying to bring retail media to lots of folks. You will find that the minimums through us are typically a lot smaller than especially direct RMN minimums within that space. So trying to offer services and programs that can do this for a lot of different brands. So we had one last question and then we'll sort of wrap it up. So I think the last one I had was for you, Dylan. So we talked a lot about KPIs now. Is there any rules of thumb around KPIs between first party, third party that you're going to see kind of come through differently?
Yeah, and I'll clarify the answer to that question for the person who's on is that those were our third party minimums for ink sales lift. First party, it can be anywhere from 100,000 to 200,000 in media spend in order to get like an iROAS from a Walmart Connect or something like that. So just different levels. So I don't want you going out to Walmart and saying, "Oh, we heard 25K." That's nothing. So KPIs vary. So generally, if we're talking across all retailers, first party, we talked a lot about. You're going to get closed loop sales reporting. ROAS is generally going to be your main KPI. If you spend enough, like I just spoke about, then I would have iROAS and incremental sales as your ROI. When it comes to 3P, depending on who your agency or whoever your activation partner is, generally it's going to be media KPIs as your go-to. As we spoke to, impressions, clicks, click-through rate, maybe you'll pull in a foot traffic report or brand lift study. With Digits, depending on the retailer, we'll give you incremental sales lift reports, ink sales dollar percent iROAS for Target, Walmart, and a couple other retailers where they provide the right level of detail.
Awesome. Well, I think we are close to wrapping up. I know we were actually a few minutes over schedule here today. So if there is more Q&A, 1 minute warning, if anybody has some to pop them in, and we can answer them live. Otherwise, I do have a public service announcement if there are brands on the call, is I am working on a promo media product. Promo media is hard to do in this space. And so if anybody has budget to run a promo optimized campaign, reach out to me and I'll share more details. But didn't want to miss the opportunity for that of a new product we are working through. Sign up for a newsletter and then reach out with questions. So all three of us are pretty active on LinkedIn. You can always find us there. Here's our direct emails. Ben, I did not list yours. Sorry. But we can reach you on LinkedIn. Is that a good spot?
Yeah, my email is also ben.severino@thetradedesk.com.
So a pretty easy one. That's good. They keep it simple there. So, thank you everybody for joining. I didn't see any. Oh, one last minute question. There we go. Can you explain what you mean as a promo offer for a beta, a coupon? No, not necessarily coupon, retailer-based promotions. So it's on sale at Walmart, it's on sale at Target, it's on sale at Kroger, Albertsons, whatnot. And trying to find the right way to bring that media to life. But if that interests you, anonymous, email me and we can share more details. So cool. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you joining the webinar today. You'll get an email with a link to the recording and whatnot, usually in the next day or two. And then I look forward to seeing you guys on future webinars as well. Thank you, everybody.